Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode. Wait a minute, it's not an episode. This is a bonus episode we promised you earlier in the week of the Puck Lines podcast, brought to you in partnership with Black and Gold Productions. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PuckLinesPod, on YouTube, long random ass URL, because you listeners still haven't followed through and gotten me to 100. So we are still serious serial 999. So bleep you. But I am Andrew Taverna. I will be one of your hosts this evening. Connor, how you doing tonight?
Oh, man, I am good. I was busy pre-show watching the Buffalo Sabres beat up on the Montreal Canadiens. So I am feeling a little bit okay at the moment. And
that will certainly make for this bonus episode to be a little bit more interesting. For our listeners, I promise this was not planned this way. I can guarantee you that, but it certainly worked out to be an interesting evening. One other note, I apologize about anything stupid I say on this episode. Connor has forced me to record after my bedtime, so we'll see how it goes tonight. But in the party we're going to bring on for this bonus episode, we are happy to welcome our favorite Buffalo Sabres super fan and Craigslist famous Jill, more popularly known on Twitter as Sabres Bunny. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I hate the Sabres right now, so I don't know why I'm here. I'm just kidding. I obviously love the Sabres, but hi guys, how's everyone?
Good. The good news is you hating the Sabres just makes you fit in with this show. As our listeners know, I have no love for the Sabres, and you have no love for Bruins fans, so that is exactly why we're here this evening.
Not you, though. Not you.
Well, fair enough. All right. So to round out our group this evening, we are going to bring in another additional super fan from another Bruins favorite, the Montreal Canadiens. We are welcoming in today Amanda of the Habs Slut Twitter account. And I swear, she's the one that gave me that Twitter account. I did not make that up. So before you at me, back the hell off.
Yes, it's real. I know it's a bit controversial. And actually, the first person who messaged me when I started the account asked me if it was a parody, if I was bullying somebody on Habs Twitter. So I promise it's real. And yeah, good to be here, guys.
Awesome. Well, for today's event, the one thing I did want to cover, because I think this is absolutely hilarious. And when Andrew started to say it in the introduction here, I was like, oh, man, that sounds kind of bad, being Craigslist famous. I wonder why.
Yeah, I was like dying to get on the screen and be like, shut up.
But you had made last year in 2020 a Craigslist post about the Buffalo Sabres and putting them for sale. Can you tell us a little bit about it? For all of our YouTube video followers, I'm going to throw this up on screen so you can see what she posted as she explains this.
Well, I might do it again this year, and I might put it on Backpage this time, though, because it seems a bit more appropriate for the dumpster fire we are now, especially even after last year and, you know, what's going on with the Jack Eichel situation. But yeah, when I posted that last season, it was just on a whim. I woke up, I was like, man, I was like, I can't remember what happened. I was so pissed off at something the organization did, or I don't know. But I was like, I just ran and did that. And, you know, I had the help of a couple other people with some of the verbiage and stuff like that. But I didn't even think it was going to take off. I was just like trying to be a smart ass and take out some of my negative energy, you know, and like make a joke out of like a terrible, awful situation. And then all of a sudden it was just like my notifications were like, boom, 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 boom. And I was like, Nikes. Like, so then the Buffalo News reached out to me and I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I was totally embarrassed by it. I didn't want to give them my name at first or anything. I was like, can't I just do it anonymously? And then it was in USA Today and like everywhere. I mean, Sportsnet, you name it. And I had to give my name, like I said. So on top of that, I just had like friends and people that don't know about my account because I made my actual Twitter account so I wouldn't embarrass myself by being a total hockey psycho to people I know in real life. And that from that point on, it was just like done with. Like, so yeah.
And she's not lying. I Googled for that article, and it is in almost everything. It was like USA Today, Yahoo Sports, CBS Sports, Buffalo News. Like, it was everywhere.
Yeah, and I think it was
impressive.
Like, USA Today too, like took a knock at me because they didn't understand. I made some like backhand joke about Kim Pegula and about how like you can't, if the replacement owner can't have their wife being an internal position. Yeah, there it is.
That was my favorite line of the whole.
Yeah,
that was my favorite line of the whole thing.
Yeah, so USA Today, they were like, they said something pertaining to like not liking me saying that because it implies that or insinuates a female can't be an owner within an organization. So they didn't understand, you know. But anyone that
coming
knows
from
hockey,
a female,
anyone that knows hockey knows what I was referring to. So
anybody that knows the Pegula family knows what you're referring to.
Except for the Bills fans. There's like a civil war going on in Buffalo between the Pegulas with the Bills and the Sabres fans because, you know.
They should have to sell both teams, so that's the good news. But anyways, we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. So now that we've got that little fun tidbit out of the way, time to get to the meat and potatoes. Of course, this is going to be the Atlantic Division preview and breakdown. We are going to get very in-depth with all of these teams. So buckle in and enjoy the show. And since, of course, it's Andrew and I, we have to start with the Boston Bruins first, right?
Yep, of course we do.
All right. So one of the topics that we've been kind of mulling over, Charlie McAvoy and his extension coming in. Elliot Friedman has been making some comments on Sportsnet Radio this week that he is expecting it to not be above 10 million, but it is expecting it to be more than the Werenski deal, which is 9.5. You've got $500,000 of a wiggle room. Why even bother at that point?
Because I've told you this before. I actually think I said it on our last episode, so people listening to this maybe didn't even hear this yet. But because anytime you pay a player $10 million or more, it's an automatic failure. By paying him 999999999, however the hell many nines there are in that number, you're not paying him over $10 million, and that's what really matters.
True. Now, we need to finally, on this podcast, get input from somebody who's not Bruins related and not Bruins fans. So this is our first time. So, Amanda.
I'm nervous.
Let's bring you first. What do you have to say about the Bruins and a potential McAvoy extension?
Sorry, I just have to excuse my dog barking in the background.
Oh, that's fine. We love dogs.
Yeah, I think somebody just got home, so she's going wild. But I think that honestly, I think it's fair. I've been saying on my Twitter account this entire time, with the new salary cap like market, I feel like contracts are going above like the $7 or $8 million mark for every single franchise. Like today, we just saw Brady Tkachuk get a contract that was in the I believe $8 million marks for eight years. And so I feel like this is a pretty common thing that we're seeing from team to team. And so, yeah, I think it's to be expected. I mean, I don't really know what he's going to do with the $500,000 wiggle room. I feel like you should just round it up to like, 10 or 9.5 at that point. But yeah, I think it's fair.
All right. So Jill, you've got a player in your organization who makes over $10 million, who's an absolute headache. What's your opinion?
Oh man, who is it? I don't know who you're talking about.
Don't know.
You mean Jack Eichel?
Oh yeah, that guy. Totally forgot about him.
Oh man, they didn't even. Yeah, it's such a headache right now. I mean, what do you mean? What do I think about it? I think it's from both sides. I think it's absolute bullshit. I think the way he's handled it with his agent and everything is absolute bullshit. But I do think the Pegulas and not allowing him to have that surgery. At first I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's a good idea he doesn't get the surgery for his herniated disc in his neck, because he wants the entire disc replaced, and there's no other player in NHL history who's had that surgery and, you know, had such a strenuous routine and recovered from that surgery. So it's kind of like a guinea pig surgery. You don't know what you're getting, but apparently all 5 teams that are still interested in Eichel are saying they're going to allow him have the surgery. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just up in arms. I'm like so sick of it. Like, I just want a trade to happen, you know? I would prefer it to not be to the Boston Bruins, though, or anyone within the division, of course, and especially not the New York Rangers, because their fans are freaking putrid. I cannot stand New York Rangers fans. Like, everyone's untouchable on their team, right? You know? What are you looking at?
You must have not listened to the last episode. Probably a good thing.
Yeah. So let me take a deep breath now. Okay.
Whew. The one thing that I will say about Bruins and a McAvoy extension with all the extra talk that's been coming in is a lot of people are referring to the Cam Neely and the Don Sweeney interviews they did recently. Both comments from both of them about this contract were completely unsolicited.
Correct. Well, not only unsolicited, but Sweeney was being
he was walking back
it.
The Neely
comments. Because Neely got up 30 minutes before him and was like, we're hoping to have it done in short order. And all of a sudden people were like, it'll be done by Friday. And like, it's going to happen before the first game of the season. And then you've got Sweeney coming out. I think the only reason he made a comment was because
Neely already did.
Supposed to do at that point. I mean, Neely just walked him into that issue and left him sitting there. But then again, that is historically what Cam Neely does to Don Sweeney. So it's kind of expected at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit.
But just to put a bow on that, right? Like, they can't pay. I would pay McAvoy $10 million if I have to, but I would do everything in my power to avoid having to pay him 10. Like, I would pay him to the penny underneath.
What do you have to say, Jill?
I just
10 million and you got squirrely.
So, talking about McAvoy, I had him on my fantasy team last year. I know you can't really relate fantasy to regular, but he totally effed up my fantasy team, so I can't stand him. But I think right now, I didn't realize like he was valued that high, like as a $10 million player.
Only in Boston.
Yeah.
Right now. Only in Boston.
I wouldn't think that, but you know, it's because I'm an outsider. Like, I don't watch him play every single night or whatever. But you got Pasternak at like 6.666 because you guys are evil, and as an outsider, I see Pasternak as like a much better player or valuable player than McAvoy. The other thing we should mention is the cap's going to go up like a lot, probably in about 3 years. So are you guys trying to bridge him, or what's going on here?
It looks like this is a long-term, we're keeping you in Boston deal.
Okay.
So that's what's scary.
Yeah.
Why is that scary, though? This is great.
He's in his early 20s. Let me take a peek real quick. I can pull it up. But what's really...
You have to keep in mind, this is a Norris caliber defenseman.
He's 23. 23 at the moment.
Yeah, so he's peaking soon. So if you think he's going to be, you know, as good as you right now, you think it would be the time to get him in for 6 years. So in 3 years, like how the Sabres are with Dahlin, now that we bridged him for 3 years, he's going to get, if he plays well, we're going to be screwed because in 3 years, the cap's going to go up so much.
In 3 years, this is going to be Jack Eichel part more.
2. Yep.
Okay. Sam Reinhart part 2 too.
But you make good sense with the contract talk. So I'm going to throw up some of the contracts here for similar defensemen. Seth Jones hit a cap hit of 9.5.
Can I laugh about that? Can we laugh about Seth Jones right now? Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Darnell Nurse, 9.25. Heiskanen, 8.45. Werenski, 9.58. Makar, 9 even. To me, does McAvoy fit into that grouping of defensemen? Probably.
I think he's a tier below, honestly.
Me too.
No way.
Offensively, he is a tier below all of them.
He's a tier below Seth Jones. Get the fuck out of here.
No.
Yeah,
I won't even
See, here's the thing. Hey, don't twist my words. I say Seth Jones is like a tier below, 2 tiers below that. Like, look how he played last night.
He definitely got overpaid. I will say that. But as far as like Cale Makar, Werenski, Heiskanen, you know, the comparables are honestly going to be Werenski, Heiskanen, and Makar.
See, and Nurse got paid way too much too.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Just a quick shout out. You keep showing his graphic.
Yes,
thank you to read over at Bruins Cap Space. So thank you for letting us use your graphics in our episodes here. That is a great follow on Twitter for Bruins fans, for Sabres fans and Montreal fans. So make sure you follow Bruins Cap Space on Twitter.
All right. So everybody hears us drone on and on and on every week at the beginning of the show about the Boston Bruins. So we were going to make that short and sweet. So next up, we're going to take one of the teams from our friends here, the Buffalo Sabres.
The
Buffalo Sabres.
I was going to try to twist it so we can talk about the Bills, but okay, fine.
So everybody always hears Andrew go on his lovely Buffalo rants, which he's posted on social media, unfortunately, and gotten us some beloved hatred from the city of Buffalo. But every single time we have to talk about Buffalo, it's about their god-awful ownership, the Pagulas. How in the hell can we get rid of these people?
The NHL has to forcefully take the team.
Should take it like Arizona?
Yeah.
But I know, Andrew, you can't stand. You think the Sabres don't deserve to have a fan base. I think we do. We are established fan base. If you look at viewer ratings from any playoff games or anything, whatever the teams that are playing have the highest ratings, then it's always Buffalo. I mean, we have a hockey city here. When we're good, this fan base is insane.
Gotcha.
Connor, do you have a picture of their building tonight?
Oh, it's
of their building tonight.
There's too many people there, in my opinion. It's too many.
I can pull one up real quick. Give me a minute.
It filled out. I'm watching it on TV though, and it filled up a little bit more than what it was.
Oh, did it? Okay. All right. I don't have it on right now because I don't have the ability to focus on literally anything unless I'm just doing this. But here's the thing. I actually am not entirely against Buffalo keeping their franchise. It's just I don't think the Pagulas are actually going to willingly give it up. So the only solution I have is for the NHL to forcefully take it and bring back the Quebec Nordiques, because there's just no other option unless the NHL steps in and says, you people are gone. Who else in Buffalo is going to buy the franchise?
When the Bills were for sale, there were tons of people in on it.
Well, but that's the NFL, not the NHL.
I understand that, but I mean, the Pagulas bought the team.
So how many? Yeah, but do we want to compare other people to the Pagulas? Probably not. I mean, those aren't who we want those people to be.
Okay.
But here, how many offers did you get on Craigslist?
Like 5 to 10 joking offers, obviously, and then Kim Pagulas probably saw it herself and reported it. I love you. If you're watching, Kim, I love you so much. Please don't ban me from the arena.
Is that a thing they can do?
Yeah, they have like a whole list, I guess. I'm not on
wow.
it right now, so.
Wow, how the hell are you not on that after trying to sell their team?
Well, I haven't tried to go to a game this season yet, or a preseason game or anything, so we'll see. But if you're talking about the Sabres being like relocated, there's like a handful of teams I would think first. Like, look at when you brought up the attendance to the game tonight, the first thing I think of when I look at this is the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, sure. No, they should be banished into the sun as well.
They're going to be good. They're going to be really good this season, so they'll have a better attendance than us. But there's so many other teams. I mean, even the Canes. Like, I want them to be the Whalers. I can't stand the Canes. And then you already brought up the Yotes. There's so many other teams. So I don't want to make you cry or anything, but
so time out.
Actually, I do.
Explain this.
That's before the game. And
that's as they're setting up for the game.
Yeah, setting up for the game. There's more people there right now than that.
That was a picture taken, I think, 10 minutes. I looked at the timestamp like 10 minutes before the game started.
I mean, there's not that many people there. I mean, last season, or no, wait, was it last season? I paid like $250 a seat for my season openers. It was like packed out. Yeah. Yep.
You paid $250 a seat to see the Buffalo. You should ask for $249.99 back on that deal because
trust me. Why do you think that? Well, we won. I mean, that's when we played. Was it last season, our 50th anniversary, or the season before that? Anyways, we played the Devils and Taylor Hall when he was still in the Devils, and Jake McCabe like friggin' creamed him. It was like such a great game. We won like 7-2 or something like that.
One of the 4 games they won that season. Congrats.
I know. They always, well, that's what they do. In the beginning, looks like the Habs have come back. It's 2-1 now. Yes. So we always do this in the beginning of the season. Like, remember we had our 10 game winning streak like a couple seasons ago, and then we just shit hits the fan. And then we're just like done. Like when we're supposed to be good, that's when they stop being good. It's Jeff Skinner scores 40 goals, gets $9 million a year for 6 or 7 years.
Rough.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, contracts are contracts. At least the Pagulas aren't signing those contracts, right?
And just to be fair, like I'm laughing because I'm laughing like a crazy person. Like I don't even know like what to do or what to say anymore. It's just like,
in Andrew's defense of Buffalo and Buffalo fans, he does say that they have one of the best fan bases in the league.
Yeah, so why wouldn't someone want to buy the team? That's my point.
Because it's a money issue.
Yeah,
like
but
they have.
Look at I know NFL is different from NHL, but if you look at the Bills, like
somebody would buy the Sabres if you told them that they were going to be the Quebec Nordiques after 3 months.
Well, I almost wore my Sakic Nordiques jersey too. Now I'm glad I didn't because I'd be like siding with you guys somewhat if I had.
I think it's this, okay? So there's 2 problems. One, the NFL has a product and the NHL does everything they do to kill their product. So if it weren't for people like us, the NHL would alienate almost all of their fans if it were up to them. Now, their new broadcast deals maybe are finally a turn in the right direction, but I'm still a little hesitant to, once you trot Gretzky out onto the screen a couple of times, it doesn't become as exciting the 6th or 7th time. But
unless you live in Toronto, right? Sorry, no knock on you. I'm just saying, like, they have those commercials up there, like great moments in hockey, and it's always Gretzky. Okay.
Well, and it's fair. I mean, like he's an important piece of the game, but like I just don't know that it's going to bring them as far as they're hoping it's going to bring them. But in addition to the fact that it's the NHL, and again, I actually think like the people of Buffalo are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Anytime I've ever been to Buffalo, it's been a decent and fine experience. That said, who the hell goes to Buffalo?
Hey, you know what we should do? You know how we said that we're going to go to Vegas in
Amanda
March?
said she goes to Buffalo for games when she was
Yeah,
going
you know what? I will say, I don't know if this helps your point, Jill, or weakens it, but there is shuttle buses from Toronto to Buffalo and also shuttle buses from Montreal to Buffalo to see the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens play because the tickets are just so cheap.
Yeah.
Like for reference, I almost bought a pair of tickets for November. That was $95 US for, I think, 4th row in Buffalo. And in comparison, I was ready to pay $500 Canadian for the same seats at the Bell Center. So, I mean, I don't know if that hurts the cause or helps the cause with the Sabres, but I have to say I've had my best Habs fan moments in Buffalo, getting sick high fives and signed jerseys. So I think we shouldn't abolish the franchise just because of that.
You got a discount ticket
twice a year.
I've talked to people, Leafs fans, that have flown their entire family to Florida and gotten seats and a weekend at the beach to go to a Florida Panthers Toronto Maple Leafs games cheaper than what they would have paid for like 1 or 2 tickets in Toronto. That's because
that's also Maple Leafs. I am from Toronto, and I've done the same thing, but just with Habs games.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I want to go to Montreal for a game. It's insane there. I just miss good hockey, like a packed out arena. So
yes,
I have to admit though,
you're welcome to the bargain bin, everyone. You're welcome.
when I went to a Montreal game and the Bruins weren't even playing and I was wearing my Bruins jersey, they were also exceptionally nice. And like I don't know if it's just like a Canadian thing to be super nice, but like I was shocked by how well treated I was when I
In
went
Toronto?
there. No, Montreal.
Yeah, not
Okay.
trying.
No,
Okay.
no, going to Toronto in a Bruins jersey it's also fun, but in like that I'm going to get arrested on this
Yeah,
trip kind of way.
exactly.
Yes.
But the other on that note, like Toronto games are like going to a friggin' funeral. Like
That's
it's all
very
people
true.
in suits and
In suits, yeah.
It's very corporate.
yeah, you
And
suck,
that's the
Toronto.
sad
You
part
hear that?
about Toronto.
Yeah, everybody here hates Toronto, and that's okay. But I think, Andrew, on top of our trip that we say we want to try and do in March to go to Vegas together for the
Yeah.
Bruins game, we should do a Puck Lines does Chippewa Street and go
Oh,
to
man.
a Buffalo game. And
I
just
mean, I don't even go to Chippewa anymore. That place is like it
by
is.
then, everybody will know who Andrew is because of all the shit he talks about Buffalo, and
Yeah,
it'll be a riot.
and I will promote it on my Twitter page too. I'll be like,
Yes.
meet him at the corner of whatever, Jim's Stakeout at
You-
Soho.
You know what? I'm 100% in.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. It's not like we got to take flights to Vegas.
Oh man, that's where like we always joke and say Casey Middlestat started hanging out on Chippewa, and that's why he showed up now because he had a couple late nights on Chippewa till 4 a.m, and now he's a grown man.
Amen.
Score some goals.
All right. So the next topic that I want to talk about, and all four of us have some skin in the game with this, Jack Eichel, my beloved Jack Eichel. And everybody's skin is crawling as I say his name again.
I'm done.
Andrew, I know, is checked out. Apparently, there's 5 teams in the NHL who aren't. Montreal has been mentioned in there before. But Jill, from everything that you hear in Buffalo, where do you think that he really ends up?
Well, I know some people that know some people.
Ooh.
I know his MTC, his MTC or whatever, whichever. Is that the right term for it?
No trade clause?
Like at the end of this season, it's
Yep.
within his contract that he can only be traded to, I think it's 3 teams. And those teams are New York Rangers, Boston Bruins,
Whoop.
and Montreal.
Dang.
So that
True
sucks for
fight.
us. That like adds, to fuel to the fire for, us Sabres fans that know that. Like we need to get him traded. It's just I'm putting it on the Pagulas at this point. It's like it's more of like a pride, a pride war now.
And they are dumb enough to screw this up. That's what you have to remember.
They've already screwed it up. What do you mean?
Well, they have, but I mean they're dumb enough to wait until the no trade clause goes into effect.
Oh,
and they have to trade
yeah.
one of those 3 teams.
I'm just expecting it at this point. They're just going to
Quick
let him sit on the
timeout.
bench all year.
Just to make it even worse, because I just double checked real quick because I wasn't sure. It is a full no movement clause. It's not even a 3-team no trade. It is a full. He gets to pick yes or no to any offer that they get. So he is in full control, just like Taylor Hall was when you got posed.
Yeah, after this, Taylor Hall, that wasn't a big deal. That was just like a 1-season thing. We sucked anyways. Like, sure, it cost us some money, but it's the Pagulas' money, so good.
If you didn't have a no trade clause there or a no movement clause, you could have gotten a 1st-round pick instead of a second and spare parts on his Bjork.
Well, I don't mind. He filled out like a good spot, like in the bottom 6. I like him actually compared to like a lot of the other guys we had in the bottom 6. Whatever.
Well, that just says a lot about your bottom 6, not about Bjork.
You guys had like Curtis Lazar too in that trade, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Damn.
So what kind of contract did you take on with him? I mean, he's pretty. I never minded him. I mean, he's a bottom 6 player, so I think it kind of like evened out with the Bjork thing there.
So Lazar, we have him on the books this year for $800,000, and then he leaves, or he resigns.
Will you take him on? Do you think, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Boston signed a lot of bottom 6 players, and they have a lot of players who in the next year to 2 years are going to be ready for the NHL lineup. So I think he's probably gone at the end of the season if he doesn't get traded at and around the deadline, I would assume.
All right. So, I mean, that doesn't make up for the Taylor Hall thing, but it kind of balances out that Anders Bjork thing.
Yeah.
This is what we have to do to justify stuff and make ourselves feel better in Buffalo, like.
I mean, it happens.
Damn it.
Now, as a Montreal fan, when you hear about Jack Eichel after, losing Kotkaniemi and going out and getting, what's his name? The center from Arizona. Dvorak, that's what it is. How do you feel about Montreal still being in the kindling fire for Jack Eichel?
I don't think it's something that's completely off the table for Montreal, especially with Shea Weber and what it looks to be Carey Price on LTIR, because we do at the moment have the cap space. And unfortunately, I do think Weber will be out for, that's it. I think forever at this point. They're talking about putting him on LTI instead of LTIR because of his injuries. And so I think they're looking for somebody to really fill out that first C role. I know we just signed Nick Suzuki, but he's still developing, and I don't think he's ready to fully replace what we left in Dano. But I don't really know, with Marc Bergevin being in his last year of his contract as the Habs GM, if he's really willing to do something like that in his last year right before he leaves, or if it'll be like a power move right before he goes. Not too sure, but I don't see it being likely for the Canadiens.
Gotcha. Now, I'm going to park the Marc Bergevin talk until we get there, but that's another interesting point that I do want to talk about because I think that's going to affect a lot of stuff in Montreal. Andrew, you got any last minute things for Jack Eichel?
I mean, just that I want to stop hearing about Eichel to Boston like now. And I'm going to tell our listeners again, if you at me in another freaking Jack Eichel tweet, I'm going to light your damn car on fire.
Okay.
Awful. I'm done. I'm done with Jack Eichel.
Imagine what I got, you got 10 other teams I'm dealing with on top of what you're dealing with. So I'm done with it too. I don't even care if it's a bad friggin' trade. I don't. I just want it done. Yeah, I just want it done.
So moving past Eichel, Jill, what are, maybe one or two things Buffalo Sabres team related, on ice product, success of the team this year that everybody should know in this division?
As far as what, things that are overshadowed, that people don't realize about certain players? What?
Yeah, absolutely. Players that are going to make a big impact. Who do you think is going to be, the MVP of the Sabres this year, etc.?
Oh, Sam Reinhart. No, I'm just kidding.
Oops.
That hurt me the most. I think Dylan Cousins is going to be huge. I think Dahlin could have his breakout season this year. I'm hesitant on saying that though, but when Granato took over as head coach last season, Dahlin went off. It was for a short amount of time, but I'm expecting that from him again this season. I haven't even been able to check what the the power play lines are, but I know that ties in a lot to Dahlin's production. But I'm pretty sure he'll be doing pretty good. Victor Olofsson. I'm worried most about our goaltending. We do have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the pipeline. He's not in Rochester, which I hope they pull him up for part of the season. Since we have Craig Anderson, I'd like him to deal with under him a little bit more for some veteran experience. We really do need to get what's his face, Cody Eakin off the damn team. Cody Eakin's just got to go. Other than that, I don't know. I am banking on the next two drafts because we have so many picks in the first round. So, and I hate to do that because it's what we've been relying on for so long, but it's kind of our only hope. But one of these seasons, it's all got to click somehow. So,
yeah. Now, Rasmus Dahlin has been taking shifts at forward. What is that all about?
Well, he started at, normally I would, I'm the biggest like Dahlin fan there is. Normally I would lose it hearing that, but he was a forward. He in the SHL when he was playing for Frölunda came up as a defenseman just because he has insane skating skills or whatever, and did so well there. I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think that's what he's drafted for, is being an offensive defenseman. He's got silk mitts, like he's really good. So we'll just see how it is. I mean, now's the time to experiment if there's any time.
It's just really weird. You never really hear that too often. It's like
we're like a minor
Brent
league
Burns
pretty much.
is probably the most recent NHL player who's done that, and of course Phil Housley.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
is the one that they're comparing him to right now because of the scenario in Buffalo. So anything else before we move on to the next team?
Yeah, like, are we just gonna pretend that little screech there in the background didn't happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dogs,
All right.
Children. We're having fun today.
And the Sabres scored. I just wanted to add that in. Victor Olsen
and
scored.
The Sabres scored. So for all
that's
of you
why I
on
went
YouTube seeing Jill jump around, yes.
Yeah, just so you guys know if I'm like, ah!
So wait, what's the score right now, though?
4-1 Sabres.
Ooh.
That's rough.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Amanda.
Wait, 4? I thought it was
4-1.
3. Oh, no.
It was 2-1 for a minute.
Yep. For a while. I think it was like an entire period.
Connor, you should be really lucky that isn't on our book right now, because if we go 0-6, I'm going to lose my damn mind.
So 0-5 would be fine?
I haven't looked at the scores of those games because we're recording tonight. If you're telling me we're about to go 0-5, I might lose my damn mind because I put 2 units on one of those games, didn't I?
I'm not sure, but I forgot.
Habs are on the power play.
The Red Wings are winning 2-0 over the Lightning.
You've got to be.
So
it's going to be one of those seasons, isn't it? Where these like crazy bad teams are going to like dominate.
And the Kraken and the Preds are 1-1.
The crackheads.
You've got to be freaking kidding me.
If the Lightning lose in Detroit tonight, I am forbidding you from ever saying Tampa Bay Lightning and putting money on them in the same sentence.
I took 2 units on the puck line.
Anywho, let's move it on to more in this division. Speaking of the Red Wings, Dylan Larkin. He's one of the goal scorers here for the Red Wings. Is he legit? Or is he completely fallen off with this team and has become useless now as a player? I feel like he was so touted as an NHL performing superstar, and now it's nothing.
He was drafted the same year as Eichel, right? I believe so. But I'm saying,
not sure.
I think there's still hope for him. I do.
Yeah, as long as he leaves Detroit.
I have more hope for them than I do the Sabres right now. I mean, they got Steve Yzerman.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I also have more hope for the Rolly trash can I'll pull back into my driveway later than I do for the Buffalo Sabres this year. So
insert Bruins joke.
No, I mean, listen, I think that he's a victim of the organization he's with. I think it's as simple as that. If the team gets better, he's going to be your best player likely on that team.
I agree.
I agree as well. I feel like that has a lot to do with player development in general. It's like the pieces around you. One person can't stand on their head and make a team, and I think that's what he's been victim of in Detroit. So hopefully Detroit getting a couple new players this season, hopefully he breaks out. But I do think that he would be the most successful if he got traded.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned having a little more faith in the Red Wings because of Stevie Y. How long do you think the rebuild will take in Detroit under a Stevie Y regime? Do you think it's another 2 to 3 years? Is it 4 to 5 years? It feels like the Buffalo Sabres are probably 5+ years away, but where do you really think the Red Wings are?
Really?
Yeah, really. Once you get rid of Jack Eichel, you've really got nothing. You've got Rasmus Dahlin. That's it.
Dylan
Being
Cousins.
honest. Maybe. That is
Whatever.
a completely unproven commodity so far.
Whatever.
So are you saying then that Stevie Y is going to take longer to rebuild that team than the Buffalo Sabres? That would be a hot take.
I actually have a mock trade thing. I can't remember if I made it or if I stole it from someone, but it said GM tips from Stevie Y for Jack Eichel.
Yes.
And which
that would be a good trade.
I would actually do that right now. That's how ready I am.
I actually think that would be a smart investment for the Sabres organization. So
I mean, that's how much faith I do have in Stevie Y. I think he knows what he's doing. What is that defensive prospect they got? Is it Cider, something like that?
Moritz Seider.
Yeah.
From Germany.
Yeah, he's on my fantasy team. I mean, I got him way late, but
it's going to be a solid pick. I mean, when I watched that draft, I think they were picking number 6. It was either number 5 or number 6, and they came up and they announced Seider, and everybody was like,
"Yeah, it was like left field." I was like, "Wait a second!" Like on Twitter, that's all you saw was like WTF, Detroit.
So everybody likes to talk about how like their front office and general manager and scouting department always is thinking they're smarter than other organizations. Well, Stevie Y probably is smarter than most other organizations. That guy is ridiculous. Now, Amanda, what do you have for the Red Wings? Do you think they're over 5 years? Do you think they get it done less than that? What do you see out of Detroit?
I think maybe less than 5 years. I think they have some good draft picks down the pipeline. But the weird thing to me about Detroit, and they always seem to be one team's kryptonite, and specifically the Habs. So I wouldn't cut them out too short. I do think they have a brighter future than the Sabres. I'm sorry, Jill, but I do think it'll be under 5 years for Detroit, especially with their new additions. But I don't know. I still have them obviously out of the like wild card spot for the Atlantic Division. I do think that it still needs like a couple years, but I would say under 5 for sure.
Okay, fair enough. Now, one of the things that intrigues me about rebuilding teams and why I think Stevie Y is going to be way more successful, the Detroit Red Wings, when they started this and brought him back to do the rebuild, he hasn't signed anybody really more than 2 years, except for like 3 or 4 of their core players. Everybody else, he's wheeling and dealing every chance he gets. He's getting the lottery tickets. Now,
did he deal Mantha? See, I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, he traded him last year for Verana from Washington, and I believe it was 2 third-round picks, maybe.
Yeah,
I was
surprised with that. I didn't think he should have gone, but that's just an example.
Yeah, and I mean, there's still talk that Tyler Bertuzzi might be on his way out. Obviously, the whole, not wanting to be vaccinated for COVID is going to throw a huge wrench into that. But there's been talk through the summer up until now. He's on the roster. He scored one of their goals so far this evening. But it seems like, and I'm going to bring in another team from the West, Arizona and Detroit have their shit together. And I think Buffalo is still getting to that point. But I'll give Kevin Adams some love. This offseason, he got what he needed out of Ristolainen,
that
Reinhart,
was great.
Making those trades to start bringing in first-round picks and some prospects. But Detroit and Arizona are like the kings of rebuilding.
Here's the thing, though.
Arizona does it for a full-time job. So
for first-round picks don't matter for Buffalo, right? Because they're going to sign them to a 10-year, $10 million deal and then have to trade them away 2 years later. So really doesn't matter.
Are going to go number 1. The Yotes are probably going to get the first-round pick or the first number 1 pick this season, which sucks because it's like supposed to be like the Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin of draft years.
These next 3 draft years are supposed to be loaded with like top 15 talent. So sucking should be great for you these next couple of years.
Well, then the Buffalo Sabres have that down.
Yes. Now, another team in the division.
I don't even fight it. I'm just like, I'll take it. Just whatever.
Just
I know.
submitting to the suck. It's got to be appreciated. That's why Buffalo fans are so great. They stick around.
Exactly.
We don't have a choice, but yeah, we're loyal. So
now, another team who we've already kind of mentioned with the sucking and struggling to fill the stadium, the Florida Panthers.
stab me in the heart.
Are they finally good?
Yep.
Or did they have some success in some really weird COVID years?
No, they're good.
I think they're like contenders this year.
They're contenders?
Yeah, I think
All
they're
right,
legit.
Amanda, give us the meat and potatoes. Give us your breakdown first, Amanda.
You know what? I think Florida, honest to God, should have won against Tampa in the playoffs last year. I was honestly pretty shocked that Tampa came out on top, and obviously don't like the way Tampa, finished their playoff run. But I do think that if Ekblad hadn't gotten the injury that he had gotten at the end of the season, that they would have gotten a lot farther than they did. And I think with all the injuries healed and with them, kind of rebuilding their team and becoming a lot more talented than normal, like I guess for the Florida Panthers, I do think that they were a contender. And I think with Tampa losing a lot of key pieces, I think that Florida has a chance to be first or second in the division. And so I do think it's a team to watch out for. I think they're legit.
Okay. Now, you've got a $10 million goaltender sitting in Montreal right now. For good reasons, he's not playing. But having an all-star goaltender who makes that much money on your team, who isn't contributing, personal stuff aside for Price, how does that make you feel as a Habs fan? Because I know Florida Panthers fans have to be feeling the same way with that Bobrovsky contract.
Yeah, I feel like it's two different stories though, and I can be totally biased on this topic because I am such a huge Price fan and because I am a Habs fan, but I feel like Price plays a bigger role in the Canadiens dressing room than just being a netminder, just being a goaltender, and he brings a lot more to the team. And with his absence, you can really feel it, kind of ricocheted throughout the team. With the Bobrovsky contract, I feel that, he hasn't been in the organization too long. And I feel like with that contract, Florida fans might be feeling a little bit weighed down. But I think that a lot of people always they get tied up in the long-term deals and more so in the AAV. But I think that those contracts make star players stick on your rosters and they can be the meat and bones of a team for a long time. And that's the way it's worked out in Montreal with Price. And so I don't think it's something to ring the alarm bells on, as not unless, he becomes a big kind of weight on the end of the team. But I don't think he is that so far for the Florida Panthers.
What do you got, Andrew?
I think they're entirely two different situations, right? So, first off, I've got the fact that the Red Wings are up 3-1 against Tampa. You put that in the chat, and I just can't stop looking at it because it's ruining my night. But no, so the Price situation for me is very different. One, I think, as a Bruins fan, there is not an organization I loathe more than the Montreal Canadiens. As a human fan, there's not a person I cheer for more than Carey Price. And so I think that for me, that's almost like a non-negotiable, whatever he needs to do to get his life right is worth whatever dollar value you're going to pay there. Mm-hmm. But I do think that for Florida, that was a bad contract from day one, right? There was never anything good about that. Whereas Carey Price's contract is a 1,000% fair contract for the organization, for the tier goaltender he is. And I mean, I wish he'd play somewhere else so I could root for him to win a cup because it's not going to happen while he's with the Habs. But I mean, I think you're just talking about two different calibers of people.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. And I do want to save, a lot of that Carey Price talk for later on here when we come across Montreal. It's just really hard to take the Panthers seriously when you have a $10 million plus goaltender who is mediocre most of the time. I had a conversation.
And bad the rest of it?
Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody, and for the life of me, I forget who it was. I think it was on this podcast at some point. And they said that Sergei Bobrovsky gives you a good year every 2 to 3 years. So in that entire contract for $70 million, they'll get 2 really good seasons out of him. So are the Florida Panthers good outside of a shaky goaltending scenario? Yeah. But are you going to get a good year out of Bobrovsky where he stands on his head, and goes for, 15 games in a row where he's lights out?
He's more likely to stare on his head than he is to stand on his head, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this justifies like a $10 million goaltender like him, but they did bring in, I can't remember the name, the goalie coach is supposed to be like insane. They brought him in last season. I don't think that's going to like make it or break it for them, but at least they're like doing other things to try to, enhance or support paying him $10 million a year. I don't know. They're moving in the right direction though. I think they're like taking the right steps, even when they make one step that's kind of like really stupid,
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And the other thing that's really weird about Bobrovsky contract is they signed him to the 7-year, 10 million sheets a year, and then a couple months later go and draft his replacement. What? Like,
it was a bad contract. They knew it when they signed it.
So wild. But you know what? Golf clap to the general manager and the owner for doing that. Not many teams just go off the wall to sign a decent player to get exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, that's what they needed to be legit in this division. And they addressed the need. So,
Isn't Bobrovsky like older too?
I think he's in his 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are they doing?
I believe he's 33.
Oh my.
Yikes.
I mean, you're talking to someone who's got Craig Anderson starting in goal right now, though. So
I mean,
but Anderson's
you picked him up at the nursing home, so
no, that was the Toronto Maple Leafs last year.
Oh gosh. Now, the other huge contract that recently got done was Alexander Barkov. He's been talked about in the Selke. You don't really hear a lot about him because of where he plays. Pretty large contract, top line center. He's going to play with Verhaeghe again this year. Maybe he can earn that $8 million by turning a third liner into a first liner again. I don't know. I was really hoping that Barkov would make it to the free agent market, to be honest, especially being a Bruins fan who's like, oh my God, like the world is ending. Patrice Bergeron's going to retire in the next few years. What? So I was really excited to see Barkov kind of make it. I know he's not your flashy player where he's going to score 1 billion goals and be on all the highlight sheets, but he can put up points. He's solid. And I think the most important part is he's a great two-way player. But that contract for what's mostly a two-way player, woof.
Can you tell us what it was?
Yeah, I can pull it up real quick. I believe it was
I can too, but just for everyone, who's listening.
Around the 8 million range.
And I think that's a bargain. Like, I think that's great for him. I mean, he's going to have Reinhart next to him this season. I think they're going to light it up.
Okay. So he is going to be getting paid $10 million per year.
Wow.
For 8 years.
Yeah. I think he's worth it though, honestly. I think he's
no player is worth
player.
10 million.
It isn't now in this market, no.
I do think 10 is a little bit of an overpay for Barkov, but I do think that like the benefits of two-way players will like really, really help Florida. I mean, you saw it with majority of the teams that made it like deep in the playoffs this past season. Two-way players are essential to the way you need to play in the playoffs, and I think that it will help the Florida Panthers. 10 is way too high though, in my opinion. Montreal wouldn't even settle for 5.5 for Dano, so I don't know. I would have settled it around maybe if it was 7.58, I would say that's a steal for Barkov, but 10 is an overpay.
Whenever we're talking about numbers too, I always in the back of my head revert to thinking of Toronto and just like giggling, like thinking about how much Marner's paid.
Well,
like,
that's what I was just going to say.
doing?
They have now 2 players on their team who are over $10 million. That is a huge chunk of your cap. At what
and John Tavares contract is just going to destroy them in the end, which is even better.
If his health can't be good at best, we're not even asking it to be great. I would agree that Tavares contract is going to suck, but we can kind of say that.
But he's got the pajamas, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a guy who broke his finger and was out for 2 months, like 2 seasons ago.
True.
All right.
I mean, injuries are injuries. I hate to talk poorly on somebody for an injury.
I don't.
I mean, I do sometimes, but definitely not the Toronto Maple Leafs.
If it's something stupid, like the player goes out to, a dinner with teammates and fractures their hand.
All right, move on.
Yeah.
Darlene scored. Or wait, no, he didn't. Never mind. Sorry.
He's talking about a David Pasternak, and he wants me to shh now.
It was a toe, I believe, by the way.
A toe? I thought it was a digit of some sort, and that's what I
It was a digit. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, drink less.
Yes.
Can I just have one quick sidebar on that? Pasternak is one of those players, and I got yelled at on Twitter for saying this, that they should have put into that like no stupid things clause in his contract. Like, you may not jump off of concrete walls at soccer games or grind up on random people at clubs or stub toes.
This is why I love him, though. These are reasons I love Pasternak. And I hate the Bruins, I love Pasternak.
He is lovable.
Yes, but there should have been a clause.
The Barbie girl one sticks with me. I don't know why, but I love it.
You made me Miss Barbie girl.
So now to a team where we probably have a little bit more conversations to peg. The Montreal Canadiens. Everyone expects Montreal to take a step back because of the Stanley Cup final last year.
Or because they're losing 4-1 to the Sabres right now.
Yeah, the Sabres are always good for the first 10 games of the season. So let's let you enjoy your 10 games, and we'll check back with you in 2 weeks and collect your tears. But everybody thinks that Montreal is going to step back, which I was a proponent of Montreal. I put them to finish number 2 in the Atlantic Division a couple weeks ago. Since then, a lot of things have happened. Of course, Shea Weber isn't going to play this season. Now Carey Price doesn't look like he's going to play a significant amount of time. So I'm going to send it to the expert here. Is Montreal going to be able to succeed again and make the playoffs and make another run? Or are they going to fall by the wayside and kind of have a step back year?
I think that they're going to have the exact same year that they had last year, which is squeak into the playoffs off of the skin of their ass and hope for the best. I don't know if we'll make it to the finals because I didn't think we were going to make it to the finals last year. But I don't think that we will be a top contender in the division. That's for sure. We've lost too much, in my opinion. And with all the injuries going into the season, losing Carey Price is a huge one. Like I said earlier, he really makes a difference on and off the ice for the team. And Shea Weber is such an essential defenseman that you've lost as well. I know a lot of Hab fans on Twitter say that he's dead weight anyways, and that he was a slow-moving defenseman and didn't bring much to the team. But him as a captain brought so much. And Montreal's 4 moving defensemen last year in the playoffs really showed you how important those 4 guys were. Edmondson's also injured. And we lost a lot up front. We lost Dano, we lost Tatar, and I don't think that we lost KK. I don't think the additions that we have gotten in return, even with Dvorak, with Savard, with Paquette, I don't think it's enough to put us first or second in the division. But I do think that a wild card is possible. I'll keep that dream alive.
Okay. Now, the thing that everybody is going to hate on Montreal for last year is the Canadian division. You said that you didn't really expect them to make the Stanley Cup final. Nobody did. Everybody fully expected that Toronto was going to wipe your entire division to the ground. And
well, everybody but Boston fans who are realistic and know that Toronto.
I didn't think that.
First round.
I knew Toronto would blow it, but
listen, the Toronto Maple Leafs are professional chokers, so I wasn't really concerned. My boyfriend is a huge Maple Leafs fan. It gives us a lot of problems, but I was ready to, call it quits, call it off, forfeit at Game 5, and Montreal really surprised me. But after we won Game 6, I knew that it was a shutdown deal for Montreal because Toronto just, I don't know if it's like a mental psyche like type of thing that they need to experience as a team to really break through. But I think they've been burned in the first round so many times that if they don't end it in 4 or 5, the Leafs will choke. And I think a lot of people knew that. Now, did I expect them to sweep the Jets and also knock out the Knights? Absolutely not. And I flew to Montreal when we were playing the Knights because I knew that it was probably not going to happen for the foreseeable future, and I wanted to witness it in person. But like I said, I just don't know if we have what it takes to do it again. And I think it'll be like, back-to-back miracles if it does.
Now, I will say thank you to the Montreal Canadiens and the city of Montreal for absolutely giving me a lovely week to enjoy when you came back and you spanked the Toronto Maple Leafs last year.
Yeah,
that was truly a privilege. So we'll thank the Canadiens for that because everybody loves to see Toronto lose, which...
Well, this is a Bruins podcast. Most people want to see Montreal lose, too.
Most people want to see Montreal lose, too.
Yeah, let's keep it short, okay?
Toronto's at least losing tonight as well to the Senators, so that helps as well. But we mentioned some of these...
because Pierre is standing at the side of the glass telling them where they all went to college, so...
I love Pierre Maguire. Stop it.
It is the Senator's superpower this year, is he's just going to stand down next to ice level and start shouting colleges at people.
Yes.
I feel like the Senators are the Maple Leafs kryptonite, though.
They've got every ex-Maple Leaf. They've got one of their coaches. They've got like 4 or 5 players from the team. It's like everybody who played in Toronto who ended up pissed off at the city and the organization was like, screw you, going to Ottawa. We're going to give it to you.
Except Jason Spezza.
Except Jason Spezza. But after he got that Mike Babcock treatment, it seems to be just fine with Sheldon Keefe. So he should be in good hands. But on the Montreal train and talking about some of these players who are out of the picture for the time being, really hard to have any conversation but Carey Price stepping away from the team for personal reasons, entering the player assistance program with the league. He is probably one of the best players personality-wise in the league and genuinely who he is. You've all seen the videos of him. I think it was last year or the year before, probably because of COVID. There was a player who had just lost a family member, a kid who lost a family member. And you saw that video of him and Price having that moment, talking and hugging, yada, yada. And it just made you smile. Now, I want to wish him all the best because I have no idea what's going on. Out of the, he's entering the program, probably going to be gone for a month or so. Has there been any word in Montreal at all, of what this is? Usually they differentiate, like Bobby Ryan had, a substance abuse problem. Zach Kassian had substance abuse. Did anybody in Montreal kind of differentiate, or is Carey Price being in it and being such a superstar keeping people away from digging into it?
There was some talk about it by the Montreal Canadiens players, and there was a post made by Angela Price, his wife, saying that this is a mental health break, essentially, and that Carey Price put a lot of stress on himself during the cup run, and when they lost the cup, he took a lot of the blame personally, and he put it on himself. They knew that with the expansion draft, his health was called into question with his knee. And I think that, that move that was highly controversial with Price exposing himself ended up saving the Canadians, like, even more so than Price, like, being protected, because without Jake Allen and Price knowing that he needed to step away, I think it would have been disastrous for the organization if we lost both Carey Price to the, his mental health struggles, and then also Allen to the expansion draft. So I do think that it's a well-deserved break. I think that Jonathan Drouin kind of set the example in the organization that taking these breaks for mental health is totally okay. And I think that even like on a higher level, because Price is so looked up to in the NHL and because he's one of like the most stand-up guys that you'll ever see in the NHL, I think that it'll really set a precedent for other players who may be going through the same things to maybe step away if they feel like they need to as well. I do think it'll be more than a month that he'll be gone. I mean, Drouin missed half the season and then he missed the playoff run. So I don't really know when he would be back, but I don't think it'll be the whole season. Marc Bergevin did say in his press conference he'd be back before the end. So not really sure about the timeline, but I do think it'll be longer than a month.
Now, for the group here, do we think that this kind of sets some type of new precedent for this? Because mental health issues wise, outside of the substance abuse, like alcohol and drugs, this is really the first in the NHL. Does this set a new precedent? I mean, you had Drouin, who sort of did the same thing for his anxiety. Now Carey Price. Are we going to see more and more?
I hope so.
I mean, Robin Leonard,
Yeah, Robin Leonard has been extremely vocal on Twitter about the topic as well. I think if more and more like high-profile players make this decision for themselves, then I think it'll be like a change for the better in the NHL.
It was rumored also that Eichel, I hate to keep bringing him up, but when he went out on, LTIR last season, that he at first was going to rehab. I mean, I heard that from some inside sources, but, I understand how like big time players like that want to kind of keep it under wraps.
Andrew, anything?
No, I mean, I think we've talked about it on the show before, right? I mean, like, I think the mental health issues within the sport of hockey and within the NHL are a problem the league needs to spend more time and focus on. I think Leonard, to some extent, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, has forced their hand, right, in addressing some of it, but it's a high contact sport where you put a lot of your body and your mind into it. Like it's an intense thing, and a body can only handle so much intensity and a mind can only handle so much intensity. So I think if a player is at the point where they feel like they need to step away from the game, but they don't want to end their career, that this is a valid and valuable option for players to take advantage of it. So I think you are going to see it more. I just don't know how much more you're going to see it, because I still don't, like I said this, I see it happening. I'm not sure I see the culture changing, because every time we think the culture is going to change a little bit, it takes 5 massive steps back because the NHL does something incredibly stupid like they normally do, and off we go again.
Like, for me as a Bruins fan and seeing what Drouin did and now Carey Price, should Jake DeBrusk have done that last year?
Probably.
Like, at what point does what these guys do make it okay for the other players who have had the same issues? That's, I'm really curious to see that. And I love that you bring up Robin Leonard. He's probably one of my favorite NHL players right now, especially for the Twitter shenanigans. And he does not care what anybody has to say about him. And he is on the front lines fighting for everybody else in the NHL, whether they like it or not. And I think it's at the point where it's probably good that this is going to start to happen. And you're going to see more in depth about the NHL. Like, I think that's something that's been pretty clear recently to the NHL as an organization. You cannot hide and cover up anything anymore. Like, there's so many stories coming out about mistreatment, potential drug abuse, like all these problems where previously the NHL, and they've done this, is just swept things under the rug, kept it internal, and kept it quiet.
Yep.
Not Gary Bettman. No,
never Gary Bettman. Somebody should have made a Gary Bettman, clown face with the nose like they did for Roger Goodell.
Yeah, like Roger Goodell. Yeah.
I don't know why nobody's ever, mentioned that. But
yeah, I was just thinking the Evander Kane stuff too is surfacing, like with his wife and his gambling stuff, and it seems like they're trying to sweep that under the rug too. There's a ton of stuff. There's that one player in Vancouver who was he raped a girl or something, and
I don't think he's on Vancouver anymore. Virtanen.
That was Jake Virtanen.
Yeah, but he's not on Vancouver anymore, right?
No, he's playing in the European League.
Yeah, yep.
Right.
Yep.
It kind of just wanted to quiet it down.
Yeah. Now, on the Habs train, what other topics do you want to cover with the Canadiens here that could either make or break a season? Do you have any player in mind that you think is going to be, the dark horse to be the superstar on the team?
I think with the addition of Dvorak, I think that Drouin is going to have an amazing season coming back from his break, and he got the first goal of the season against Maple Leafs last night. I feel like his chemistry with Josh Anderson is better than anybody else on the team, and last year after Drouin had to take a step back, I felt like Josh Anderson's performance dramatically dropped. So I'm happy to see them back together again, and I think that their chemistry is great. I really hope that Nick Suzuki and Caulfield can keep their chemistry going from the playoffs, and I feel like it's a year for Nick Suzuki to prove himself, especially with the contract that he just signed, to prove that he can fill in that first center role after losing Dano. Ultimately, I just hope that we can get Price back as soon as possible without jeopardizing his mental health, because I feel like him being a part of the Canadiens roster makes or breaks the team. But yeah, hopefully with the new additions and with Byron and with Edmonton coming back, the team can flourish. But right now, I think there's too many missing pieces and too many injuries.
Okay. So if you had to pick another player in the NHL that the Canadiens are going to acquire this year, who do you think it is?
Oh. I was really thrown off by them taking Brooks off of waivers.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll acquire anybody else. Maybe finally a puck-moving D-man?
A puck-moving D-man. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I know there's, a lot of cap gymnastics that they can do, especially with Weber, eligible for LTIR, et cetera. So they've got cap space and some wiggle room. Be really interesting to see, especially because Marc Bergevin is, on the last year of his contract. A lot up in the air. I mean, it sounds like he loves Montreal, wants to say they want him to stay, but he's not signing. What's happening?
I couldn't tell anybody what goes on in that man's head, quite honestly, but it feels to me like he might be preparing to step away, just because if he wanted to re-sign, like Jeff Molson has made it public knowledge that there was a contract on the table for him to re-sign with the Canadiens, and he hasn't so far. So I don't know if that's solely a logistics thing, whether they don't agree on numbers. I know there's a lot of Bergevin hate in the Canadiens fandom. I personally think he's done a good job. I think the contracts that he's signed have been fair so far. I'm a fan of the trades that he made. I would like to see him back. I don't really know who the Habs would replace him with, only because of their, dual lingual prerequisite for majority of their management. And so that really kicks a lot of potential replacements for Bergevin.
Yeah.
shoots him in the foot. So I would like to see him stay. I think he's the best option for Montreal right now. Don't know if that's
I
what's in the
agree.
works, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I would
Peter
definitely
Chiarelli's
agree.
not available, so
Yeah. I mean, I will say that over the last 2 seasons, Bergevin has made a lot of savvy moves, and that is commendable. But I can understand why he would want to move on from Montreal. For the team in Montreal, I hope that he doesn't go anywhere because he's finally doing what everybody had hoped for, and now he's just going to hurry up and walk away. Very Stevie Yzerman-ish.
Hopefully he doesn't run away before Caulfield's contract needs to be negotiated. That's all I'm hoping for.
You don't want somebody who's going to give Caulfield $12 million a year?
Oh, as much as I love the kid, I don't want that.
Watch him have that kind of season too, because he's a goal scorer for sure. So
it'll happen. Andrew, you got anything special that you want to talk about for Montreal, or are you ready for another young and exciting team?
I wouldn't classify them as young and exciting, but we can move on to Pierre's magical list of colleges. Sure.
Pierre's magical list of colleges. Well, the Ottawa Senators, and we can probably keep this pretty short and sweet. It's like Andrew said, really not a lot of excitement out of there, except for
they're going to be good in 3 years.
3 years.
Talk to me in 3 years.
as long as Melnick doesn't trade everyone off again,
Well, yeah, okay.
correct.
because he doesn't want to spend money on contracts.
Well, speaking of money and contracts, earlier today, Brady Tkachuk finally signed and is going to join the team this weekend. Signed a 7-year, $57.5 million contract, works out to roughly 8.2 on an annual value. What do you think of a contract that large for somebody coming out of, their first couple seasons in the league on a team like that?
I think it's good.
You think it's good?
But, I'm like the big spender over here. We're talking about Barkov, and I'm like, yeah, 10's fine, But you look at a player like Barkov, and then you look at, Tkachuk. I think it's worth it. I mean, 7 years.
Is he really that good?
I think
don't
when
think
the
that
team
matters.
steps up, I mean, he is good, but I think when the team steps up, like, they're very likely going to do soon, he's gonna be like
he's gonna be one of the
players
pack
in the league.
Correct.
Okay.
He's your cornerstone piece. I mean, you sign him to that deal because the idea is as your organization starts to improve, he's your cornerstone piece. Yeah. And Pierre knew he went to BU, so it was just like an absolute
match made in heaven.
Yeah. So, by the time those two things came true, there was just no other option but to sign that deal.
True. Anybody else want to touch on anything Ottawa, or can we just brush them under the rug?
I wish them the best of luck.
All right. So another one of the hated teams in our division, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or as Andrew likes to call them, Champa Bay.
No.
I won't say what they call them, but
Champa Bay?
Yeah, Champa Bay Lightning. That's fine.
So we're going to keep it pretty quick with them. Does anybody here think that
what's the score?
A possibility to 3-peat?
5-1.
Sorry, no.
Wrong game. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. We're in degenerate mode of the night at this point. I'm debating whether I need to put down other bets to cover for the bets I was placing.
No. They're coming back. It's almost the end of the second period, and it's 4-3 Red Wings. 4-3, I feel a little bit better.
Like the Twilight Zone.
Okay, and what's going on with the Kraken?
Kraken and the Preds are 2-2.
Jesus. Okay.
So
that's just an awful spot for me to be in because now I don't know whether to throw more money at my problem or to sit here and wait it out.
Sit and wait it out. We'll reassess in about 30 minutes when we wrap this up. How about that?
Okay. I'll be asleep in 30 minutes though, so.
I don't think Tampa Bay is going to win the cup again this year.
No?
God, I hope not. That would be so boring.
You hope not?
$18 million over the cap. That did it for me. Like, Connor, I think you said that earlier, right?
Yeah.
I'm just over it. I'm over them.
All right, good. Anybody have a topic for Tampa Bay that they want to cover? Because I do not want to talk about Tampa Bay.
No, I hate Tampa Bay. That's all I want to cover.
I hate
Okay,
Tampa
good.
Bay, but I love Victor Hedman. That's all I got to say.
I think it's funny they
Overrated.
dented the cup. That it came
They
back
dented
to
the
Montreal
cup?
for repairs.
That is kind of funny. And we did talk a whole lot of shit about them the very next episode for denting the cup.
We did. We should. I'm going to go back and cut that segment.
Yes, you will. Now, this next little piece, I want to be somewhat brief because I want to get everybody to give an actual, breakdown here. I mean, not what me and Andrew have, but we can reassess. Who gets traded off of the Toronto Maple Leafs first out of their big name players?
Pull up the roster.
Hmm.
Well, Matthews will go to Arizona. You know that's going to happen, right?
I hope that it does. Kind of.
That
You
would
think
make
they
my
would trade
life.
Matthews?
I don't think that Matthews would go to Arizona in a trade. I think that has to be free agency.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is coming up, isn't it?
I feel like Austin Matthews is going to pull a David Krejci. He will play on Toronto for X amount of time when he thinks that he has a good opportunity to win. And if he sees that he's not, he's going to turn and he's going to go home so he can play home in Arizona and finish it out in Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona won't have a team by then, so there's nothing to worry about.
Well, whatever team. No, actually. They might.
They might. The NHL seems like dead set on never getting them out of Arizona. So
They do.
I
It's a
mean,
mistake,
how many
but they
different
do.
cities in Arizona can you try to play in before you just leave the state?
And it's like they brought in Vegas. That kind of was like the nail in the coffin, too. It's like from that region, especially with what they're doing in Vegas to like promote the team, you're going to suck more players to Vegas than Arizona,
Yeah. Everybody just signs PTOs when they're desperate with people like, the Sabres or Arizona, and they go from there.
Had to go there, didn't you?
Had to go there. So, Andrew, if you had to pick one of their top players off of Toronto that you think they would trade first, who would it be?
Tavares, if they could.
If they could.
I just don't think that anybody's going to take him. Not for what he's getting paid and not for this
no
reliability. I mean, maybe Arizona because they just are chewing up cap, but they must be running out of space by now.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you there. Now, Montreal over there, who gets traded off your hometown team?
I'm gonna go with Nylander.
Nylander,
he's like the most appealing to other teams. I would say I'd want him on the Habs.
Yeah, I'd take him on the Sabres for sure.
And I think it's funny there. That is the lowest contract of them all, and that was
so attractive.
They were crucifying Toronto and Nylander for that holdout and that contract. And now he's the best player out of all of them with consistency and playing in the playoffs last year. He outperformed Matthews. He outperformed Marner.
I mean, everyone outperformed Marner,
Oh, man. And that's another one who people have brought up in that conversation. The two popular ones, Mitch Marner and William Nylander. And it is bananas. I mean,
are there teams that are going to want to pay for, like, I would say Marner, but who's going to want to pay that for him?
Well, if somebody like the Sabres trades an Eichel, I mean, you have to bring in more cap to make the floor.
I would personally burn down the KeyBank Center if we took Mitch Marner and that contract on.
Wow. Well, I will.
All right.
Call
Mitch
Kim
Marner
and I'll let
for
her know.
Jack Eichel 1-for-1.
No.
What about Matthews for Eichel?
I would be more content, like with what Amanda was saying about the Nylander thing. I'd rather do.
Yeah, but no.
Eichel Nylander.
No.
For Eichel?
Yeah, but Toronto would have to take on like $2.5 million in cap. They would say no. They don't have the room.
Yeah, they'd have to.
They would have to get rid of
one
Baby
less
Gap.
defenseman.
No, you can't touch Baby Gap. Leave him alone.
So for you guys, Andrew has a favorite player that he calls Baby Gap, which is Nick Ritchie. because of the little tiny piece of hair that comes and sticks out of his helmet and flaps in the
geez.
breeze. But anyway,
Oh, that's cute.
He's just a cute little like you know when you guys see that toddler that just got like the ruffled hair, like that's baby Gap Nick Ritchie.
I just want to show everyone my art I was doodling next to the Toronto Maple Leafs. See,
and is that a little poop pile with some flies?
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Everybody's loving it. Now, for the final event of today, you have to put all of these teams in order of how you think they will finish in the division. Now, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds. I am going to quickly pull up Andrew and I's list that we have here. Andrew and I did it a little while ago. We'll see if Andrew decides that he wants to change his mind. Let's see. Okay, so for the Atlantic Division, I myself have Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Tampa Bay, Florida, Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo. I am going to change 2 teams if I were to change it today. I would take Montreal and I would drop them into 4th, and I would probably put Tampa Bay up in number 2. Now,
the team that can't win a game?
For now, the first 10 games of the season, throw them out the window. It's going to change. Now, Andrew had Toronto, Boston, Tampa Bay, Florida, Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, and then Buffalo. Would you change anything?
No, I'm not changing a damn thing.
You're not changing anything? Okay. And to caveat mine, the only reason I'm going to take Montreal down to 4th is because Carey Price is going to be out for at least a month. So that's the only reason that decision changed for me. Are either one of you ready with your lists?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
All right, take it away. Go for it.
So I'm going to go Boston, Florida, Tampa, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, Buffalo.
Wow, you have Montreal that far down the list?
I just, I think that they need to. I feel like they're going to battle it out for a wild card spot. I don't know if they're going to get it. So that's the only reasoning why I have them out so far.
Okay.
But they're interchangeable with Toronto. I don't think Toronto has it in the bank either. But for the 3 teams that I'm confident in to make the playoffs in this division is definitely Boston, Florida, Tampa.
Wow, Boston, Florida, Tampa.
I like
it. I like it. All right, there, Sabres bunny. What do you got?
Ready. I got Florida, Tampa Bay, Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Sabres, Red Wings.
Wow. So
Spice
you
it up
think
a little. Gotta spice it up.
Ottawa is going to do better than Toronto?
You damn right.
Kicking their ass right now.
My gosh.
I do. I mean, it's always been that last spot in the playoffs. It's been close between. Toronto's squeaking in.
True.
Except for last season, because they had that, wacky Canadian division thing.
True. And I will say that this division does seem to be the murderer's row of divisions.
Yeah.
There's not really an easy team until you get to Detroit and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Can I make a quick edit to my list?
Sure. We can allow it. I did.
Switching Toronto and Montreal only because I can't, for the life of me, witness another Boston-Toronto first-round playoff series.
Why?
So,
you don't want to see everybody at home crying because of us? No.
Those lead to memes. Yeah, I was going to say those lead to some of the best memes on the internet, and I repeatedly use them. So I'm going to need fresh content this year. I kind of need Toronto to lose in the first round to Boston just so I have my content for that time of the year.
Yes.
We gave you Marner crying in the penalty box.
LOL.
That's true.
There were those two guys that had the tucked in Leafs, the fake knockoff Leafs jerseys, and they tucked them in.
Oh my
and
god!
They were outside in Montreal. Yeah.
Enjoy your last game. It was like,
they were like the worst knockoff jerseys, and they had them tucked into their jeans with belts.
The best part about that is that the tickets were about $1,000 each to be in Montreal for that game, and they wasted probably $2,000 to lose in Montreal. So
with shitty jerseys.
Yikes.
Yeah. Plus travel to Montreal.
Now, that was the last official thing on our agenda here. Does anybody have anything else in their back pocket that they wanted to bring up here before we start to wrap it up?
Yes, the Sabres and Habs game just ended, and the Sabres won 5-1.
Ooh, that's
now
embarrassing.
we've got to cover something real quick because this is partially a gambling podcast. So we talked about taking a bet tonight on the Montreal Sabres game because we were doing this tonight. And I was going to bet for Montreal to win this game, but I said to Connor, and he actually gave me a little bit of a hard time. I couldn't do it because I just can't bet on Montreal winning. Like it's against my Bruins, right? Like it's just not allowed. Now, that said, if you had taken the Sabres
to win the
puck line, you would have been at plus 210. Now,
a lot of money.
What does that even mean? I don't know this stuff.
So basically, if you had put down $10, you would have won 21. So all I'm saying is, Connor, if we're really going to go 0 for 5 tonight, I'm making our listeners a promise.
Okay.
I am going to bet 3 Sabres games straight in a row
to win,
a unit and a half apiece to win.
We have a lot of easy games coming up too, so now's the time to do that. Now, I don't want to say easy, but the teams that we could beat.
You just guaranteed they lost the next 3. So
no, I would have said the same thing before this game.
The Seattle Crackheads are holding strong for us. 3-2.
Never bet Montreal wins a back-to-back game. I don't think that's happened in years. Like the second game of a back-to-back, I don't think Montreal's won that game ever.
So playoffs when it counted, though.
Take that one.
Interesting.
Stuff that one in the pocket.
We're gonna have to remember that when we bet
in the playoffs. I don't know.
Because I was on the opposite end. I told him, I said, Montreal, lost in Toronto. They're going to be looking for some payback. They're probably going to abuse Buffalo. Well, good thing that Andrew hates Montreal, apparently.
Greg Anderson is getting the Vezina this year.
Whew.
Wow. All right. So we are going to end on that hot takery. You know what? I told you before the show we don't edit. I might have to edit that out of. No, I'm just kidding.
We're going to clip that.
That was gold.
We're going to clip that into a short, and we're going to post that on Twitter.
Yeah, that is going to get clipped. All right. So to wrap up, Jill, why don't you tell us where we can find you online and what you're up to?
Well, I'm only revealing myself on Twitter, but Sabres Bunny is my handle. So
be sure to give her a follow for your Sabres news / getting harassed when you do something stupid in a fantasy draft.
I call myself Sabres TMZ, so that's pretty much what you got. Like I'm a smart ass, gossipy, that kind of thing.
That should, instead of Dahlin Forever, it should be Sabres TMZ. I think that is perfect.
I can't let go of the Dahlin Forever though. That's I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a bet or something this year.
Oh, there you go. All right, Amanda, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Well, you can find me at Habslet on Twitter, exactly how you think it's spelled.
The best handle of all time.
Yeah, and you'll basically get a lot of chirping Maple Leafs and a lot of, Habs hot takes.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. Thanks, Mark Allred and the Black and Gold production crew for supporting our show. You can follow our daily action on Twitter and Facebook at PucklinesPod. You can find us on YouTube by searching Pucklines Podcast, or you can get your shit together and help me so I can get a URL and subscribe to our channel. I am tired of asking you. Please get us to 100. Thank you.
I'll get you some followers.
Yes, thank you. And you can give me a follow on Twitter at Andrew Taverna for really poor takes and a good argument.
And of course, as always, you can find me at Connor Green 777 on Twitter. And a special thank you to our two guests today. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope we get to do it again. And of course, to all of our listeners and fans and the new ones that come along with these guests, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.